Today we will discuss Canto 9, the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 24, text 66. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskaryam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Dhyamudiyayat Nastavesya Bhadrasya Nityam Bharata Sevya Bharvatu Tamasloke Bhakti Bhavate Naistike. Please repeat. Chato Kata Kritigaya Vacham Ethi Takhto Chato Kata Pritikriyat Vacham Ethi Takhto Atvan Vipun Sutta Satani Trito Budara Atvan Vipun Sutta Satani Trito Budara Utpatyate Sapusa Katupi Samiche Atmanam Atmanikamam Prathayam Janesha Chato Gata Pitikriha Vachameti Takhto Atvari Punsutta Satani Krito Dara Utpadyate Sapusa Katupi Samiche Atmanam Atmanikamam Pratayam Janesha Chato Kata Pitikriha Vachameti Takhto Atvari Punsutta Satani Krito Dara Utpadyate Shapusha Katupi Samiche Atmanam Atmanikamam Pratayam Janesha Chato Kata Pitikrihat Vachameti Takhto Atvari Punsutta Satani Krito Dara Utpadyate Shapusha Katupi Samiche Atman Atmanikamam Pratayam Janesha Chato Kata Pitikrihat Vachameti Takhto Atvari Punsutta Satani Krito Budara Utpadmate Purusa Kadubhi Samiche Atmanam Atmanigamam Patayam Chaneshu Chato Gata Pitigriha Vachame Vitachtum Atvaribam Sutta Satani Kito Udana Utpadate Purusa Kadubhi Samiche Atmanam Atmanigamam Patayam Chaneshu Yato Gata Pitigriha Vachame Vitachtum Atvaribam Sutta Satani Kito Udana Utpadyate Shipusa Kadubhi Samiche Atmanam Atmanigamam Patayam Chaneshu. What translation? Jataha. After taking birth as a son of Vasudeva, Gataha went away. Pitregrihat from the houses of his father. Vrajam to Vrindavan. Edita Artam to exalt the position of Vrindavan. Hatva, killing there. Repun, many demons. Sutta Satani, hundreds of sons. Teta Udara, accepting many thousands of wives, the best of women. Udvadya, begot, Tesham, in them, Purusaha. The Supreme Person who exactly resembles a human being. Kratubihi, by many sacrifices. Samiche, worshipped. Atmanam, himself. Because he is the person worshipped by all sacrifices. Atmanehamam, exactly according to the ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas. Pradhyayam, expanding the Vedic principles. Janesu, among the people in general. Translation and purport by Abhijala Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, known as Lila Purushottam, appeared as a son of Vasudeva, but immediately left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationships with his confidential devotees. In Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons, and afterwards he returned to Dvaraka, where, according to Vedic principles, he married wives who were the best of women, begot through them hundreds of sons, and performed sacrifices for his own worship to establish the principles of household life. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedesa Sarva Ami Vavedya. And by all the Vedas, it is Krishna who is to be known. Lord Sri Krishna, setting an example by his own behavior, performed many ritualistic ceremonies described in the Vedas and established the principles of Grihastha life by marrying many wives and begetting many children, just to show people in general how to be happy by living according to Vedic principles. The center of Vedic sacrifice is Krishna. Vedasa Sarva Ameva Vedya. To advance human life, human society must follow the Vedic principles personally demonstrated by Lord Krishna in his householder life. The real purpose of Krishna's appearance, however, was to manifest how one can take part in loving affairs with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Reciprocations of loving affairs in ecstasy are possible only in Vrindavan. Therefore, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudeva, the Lord immediately left for Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, the Lord not only took part in loving affairs with his father and mother, the gopis and the cowherd boys, but also gave liberation to many demons by killing them. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:8, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya saduskritam. The Lord appears in order to protect the devotees and kill the demons. This was fully exhibited by his personal behavior. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is understood by Arjuna to be Purusam Sasvadam Divyam, the eternal transcendental Supreme Person. Here also we find the words Utpadya Teshu Purusa. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the absolute truth is Purus, a person. The impersonal feature is but one of the features of his personality. Ultimately, he is a person. He is not impersonal. And not only is he Purush, a person, but he is the Lila Purushottam, the best of all persons. Read the verse again. Shato kata pritikaya vachamet hitachto atvari pun sutasatani kaito udak utpadyate shapusha kadupi chamiche atmanamatma nigamam patayam chanesam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, known as Lila Purushottam, appeared to the son of Vasudeva, but immediately left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. In Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons, and afterwards he returned to Dvaraka, where he, according to Vedic principles, lived. According to Vedic principles, he married many wives who were the best of women, and begot through them hundreds of sons and performed sacrifices for his own worship to establish the principles of household life. Om Ajnanatibandasya Jananjana Shanakya Saksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chichitaya mano visham staptam yena bhutaleshvam rupkadamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shiyo shiyuda padkamalam shiyam vaishnavam sab. Shirupam jagajatam saganaragnatam vidam tam sajivam sadvaitam samdutam bhajana saitam Shrikrishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagalita Shivshakam Vitam Shahe Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabanu Tyatpate Gopesha Kopka Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansa Gauranki Radha Vrindavanishvi Vishabhani Sutadevi Pranamama Hari Priya Pancha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sinvivisa Patinam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sahati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada So we are nearing the 10th canto, at the end of the 9th canto, to understand Krishna's pastimes, because this 10th canto is called Krishna's smiling face. So to understand Krishna, we must be practically on the transcendental platform, purified. Maharaj Parikshit has understood that. He will make that in the beginning of the next chapter. He will make that very clear. That he will say, yes, one must be purified. Purified, and to understand Krishna's pastimes, that you must have taken the medicine of hearing sufficiently from Krishna, hearing sufficiently the first 9 cantos. That's the medicine. Because his first 9 cantos, in the hearing is a real medicine. We hear about great souls. We hear about devotees who struggled and became pure devotees. King Prachina Barishat was one of them. Then Bharat Maharaj, who went to 3 lives. That was a whole struggle to come to that point. And then Ajamil went through a very bad period in his life. And he became also a pure devotee. Yes, Krishna. And then we have learned also Bali Maharaj what surrender means, and what a pure devotee is, Prahlad Maharaj. So we went through all these lessons, we learned, we became purified. Then we can start to understand who the Lord is. Srila Prabhupada always, you would see that in many of his interactions with his disciples, he wanted to bring them always to the transcendental platform. And in a Govinda Dasi, she wrote in her book that Srila Prabhupada said, instinct does not exist. That he said, because, yes, and he gives the example, if you have lived in an apartment, then 20 years later, you moved out, 20 years later, you go back, you know where the bathroom is, where everything is. You remember that. So we take birth again, and we don't have problems to find the breast of the mother. We did it so many times. It's not instinct. We did it before, Srila Prabhupada said. He brings us to the platform of the soul. The soul is transmigrating. That when our great Ambarish Prabhu, the grandson of Alfred IV, that was introduced to Srila Prabhupada, that was the grandson of Alfred IV. And Prabhupada said, Alfred IV, where is he now? And brings them immediately to the transcendental platform. But we cannot understand Krishna if we are in passion. In the mode of passion, Srila Prabhupada says we are like active fools. The monkeys in Vrindavan are very active, like fools. That's, yeah. And ignorance is worse, completely inactive. When Srila Prabhupada came in Massachusetts, how do we pronounce it? Technical Institute. Srila Prabhupada, when he gave a lecture before the students, he said, where is the department of the university who teaches the difference between the body and the soul? But of course, yes, we have to learn the difference between the body and the soul. We have to learn first who is Krishna. Otherwise, we cannot understand who we are. Srila Prabhupada stresses that here. Arjuna is understood in the purport here. He says, Arjuna said, Purusham Sasvadam Divyam. You are the eternal transcendental person. That is Lila Purushottam. So that's the first realization. We are not Krishna. Krishna is a supreme person. And we are his servants. And then it's a question to build our relationship. And by hearing the first 9 cantos, we build that relationship because we understand, we hear our other devotees has built that and has become situated in pure devotion and service in relation to Krishna. So only in pure devotion can we understand Krishna. But then we have here, it is said, but immediately Krishna left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. So in these few verses here at the end, that Sukadeva Goswami, he gives a summary of the whole Bhagavatam, 10th canto. The whole 10th canto is summarized in a few verses here. And of course, that makes Maharaj Pariksit very inquisitive. He wants to hear about Krishna. And therefore, in the first 13 verses of the next chapter, Sukadeva Maharaj Pariksit will speak and he will ask questions. And one question is related to here. He will ask, why did he leave his father's home, and how was he brought to Vrindavan? How did that happen? And many other things. So he went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. There we have a great lesson. Krishna is going to teach us with this, showing his Vrajavasis what's pure love. And he will send later even Uddhav in the 10th canto. He will Uddhav to Vrindavan. Uddhav, who has already developed this relationship with Krishna, who is situated in pure devotional service. And still, when he sees the gopis, he thinks, I'm nothing. I want to become a grass in Vrindavan so that the gopis trample upon me, that I get their mercy. Can we imagine? He's already on that platform. But then he sees there is a more intense love, the gopis, the Vrajavasis. And Krishna will reveal that love through these pastimes. And we will see that this love of the Vrajavasis is most dear to Krishna. Because then after the Vrindavan pastime, we have the Dwarka pastime. But we think after the Vrindavan pastimes is over, Krishna is not going to speak anymore about the Vrajavasis in the Bhagavatam further. No, you come to the Uddhav Gita, and there in the Uddhav Gita, Krishna will speak to Uddhav and give him a message for the sage of Badarikashram. And he will tell first how to come to liberation, and he gives the example of the 24 gurus. And then after that, he will speak about symptoms of conditioned souls, then symptoms of liberated souls, a whole chapter. That's nice to read. You get really an idea what's conditioned and liberated. And then Krishna will explain at the end of the chapter, liberated souls. In the next chapter, he will establish bhakti, devotional service, as the means to attain this real liberation. And then in the next chapter, he speaks about the love of the Vrajavasis. Again, it's deep in his heart, he must speak about it. The love of the Vrajavasis. And Krishna explains there how to develop Vraja Bhakti. That's interesting. How to develop Vraja Bhakti. He says that Vraja Bhakti can only be developed by taking shelter of my pure devotees. That's the only way. So the Vrindavan pastimes, that these loving relationships, we will see how so many pastimes where Krishna will always save his devotees. And we will see these gopas, they are trusting Krishna so deeply that they are unafraid, and they say, if there's any problem, Krishna will save us. So that's the faith we need. We go to our devotional service and not make too much problems about what's all going on in the material world. Krishna will take care of it. And Krishna may change our plans and so on, but we go fearlessly with the plans. So he went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. So this is a big part of the 10th canto, the Vrindavan pastimes. Goes up until Krishna leaves for Mathura. And these pastimes, they are very sweet. They have a sweetness. And that's the unique quality of Krishna. That this Madhurya Ras, this sweetness is not found in Vaikuntha. But only in Vrindavan. And before, it was not really revealed. So it's confidential. So in Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons. And afterwards he returned to Dwarka. according to the Vedic principles in marriage, the wives will wear the best of women. That of course they are all expansion of Lakshmi's his wives. And it is said here that Krishna established the principles for household life. That's very interesting. He's showing us to live as a householder. And you have this chapter 70 of Krishna book, or the Bible, or the 10th canto, chapter 70. So chapter 96, Narada is visiting all these palaces, and sees Krishna busy doing other things in different houses. But in chapter 70, that you have Krishna, and his whole day is described, what he's doing. She is lying in bed at night and embraced by his queens. But then before Brahma Muhurta, that's the most auspicious time, and then the peacocks, or the roosters, peacocks, they make noise. In Vrindavan. You hear that also. And Srila Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, that's the natural alarm clock. Then you have to get up. So Krishna gets up, and his queens are not happy because Krishna is not in their embrace anymore this morning. So they are angry with these peacocks. And then Krishna washes his face, it said. And he starts, after washing his face, he starts to meditate on himself. So does that mean we should become impersonalists and meditate on our own soul? No. We should do the same as Krishna. We should meditate on Krishna. Krishna cannot do anything else than meditate on himself, because he's everything. There's not anything else to meditate on. So he has to meditate on himself. So we have to meditate on Krishna in the morning. So he washes his face and starts to meditate. So we will also do that. That's if you get up in the morning, this is also the teachings of Hari Bhakti Vilas. When you get up, immediately you offer your respect to your spiritual master, Prabhupada. And then for a few moments, you meditate on Krishna. And then you take a shower. That's an auspicious beginning, meditating on Krishna. And see the day positively. Today, I will serve Krishna and feel this love for Krishna and give him my love. That very sweet. That's a good beginning of the day. Krishna also meditates on himself in the morning. And then after that, he takes a bath and he performs a sacrifice according to the Vedic rituals. That of course, this was not Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, we chant the holy name. That he was performing this sacrifice. And after that, I think he gave charity to the Brahmins and so on. That so many things are described that he does there. And these are all points we can follow in family life. That there are some things that Krishna does that we cannot imitate, the superhuman activities. But these teachings of how to live in family life, Krishna gives the example there. And yes, of course, there are many instructions also in the scriptures about family life. That it's something to be carefully followed. But Krishna teaches us, establishes the principles. Because after that after his morning duties and so on, then he's going to the Sudharma meeting hall, which comes from heaven. He enters the meeting hall. In the meeting hall, everyone who enters has no material miseries, no thirst, no hunger. That a special place that free from the material miseries. And there he has meetings, and we see how Narada Muni then comes to see Krishna, and how Krishna receives him in the meeting hall, that do puja for Narada Muni, and then Narada Muni requests there are these 16,000 queens who captured by Jarasandha and so on. Please liberate them. But then there's also the question that's also in the Sudharma meeting hall. In a meeting one day, that's Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to do the Rajasuya sacrifice, but to do the sacrifice, you must first conquer all the kings in the world. And Jarasandha was not killed or conquered yet. So they made a plan, and Krishna asked Uddhav for advice. And Uddhav came up with a plan how to kill Jarasandha. So that's Krishna's job in the Sudharma meeting hall. Paritranaya sadhanam vinasaya sadhaskitam. And is assisted by his devotees for that. So that are the principles of household life described in the Dwarka pastimes. These Dwarka pastimes are in another mood than Vrindavan. There it is a bit mixed. All the residents of Dwarka are not pure devotees. But in Vrindavan they are all pure devotees, on exception of the demons. That comes because we will see in the beginning of the next chapter, the first 13 verses, Archbishop is asking all these questions, and then Sukadev Goswami will start with telling about the advent of Krishna, and he will go into Bhumi, who felt unhappy because he was exploited, earth was exploited by all these demoniac kings, and she went to Brahma for help, and Brahma said, I can also not help, but we will go to seek Kshirodakashayi, Vishnu, the milk ocean, Svetadvip, and they went with all the demigods. And then Brahma came in contact with Kshirodakashayi, Vishnu, through meditation. He was the only one of the demigods who could come in contact with him, because he was a pure devotee. All the other demigods were Sakam Bhaktas. They wanted something in exchange for their service. They wanted to control. And therefore, that subtle sense of control that brings them immaterial nature. And Krishna, like Queen Kunti says, I'm covered by the curtain of illusion, and they could not come in contact. The only pure devotee was Brahma. And Brahma got the message and told the demigods, you should all take birth in Krishna's pastimes to assist me, to assist the Supreme Lord in his mission to kill the demons and to protect the devotees. And they all took birth in Dwarka practically. Well, Mathura, but the residents of Mathura were brought to Dwarka when Krishna constructed Dwarka in one night. The heavenly architect Vishwakarma constructed the whole Dwarka in one night. That interesting construction company, but in one night they were all transferred.
The Mathura Vasis to join the North India.
They are the Mathura Vasis, because the Mathura Vasis have been transferred to Dwarka.
Okay.
Yeah, in the night when, because Jarasandha was attacking Mathura, and this Krishna decided to bring them all over in one night, and they went to sleep in Mathura, and they woke up in Dwarka, in the palace.
They woke up.
Yeah. That's in Krishna book. It's wonderful. You go to sleep at one place, the next place, where am I? It's look like I'm traveling sometimes. I'm coming from one place to another, and then I get up in the first month, where am I? Oh yeah. That was in this. That's interesting. They were transferred. Of course, not all residents of Vrindavan were demigods. That one of the pure devotees was Uddhav.
They're party shots. They came from the spiritual world.
This?
The Bprs,
Yeah.
they are Krishna party
shots. Yeah, Nitya Siddha devotees. Yeah. But there were also in Dwarka. That like we had the pure devotees in Dwarka, where of course Uddhav was there. Akrura also is Krishna's pure devotee. But he became entangled somewhere with the Shyamantika jewel somewhere or another. He was also Krishna's pure devotee. But there were some pure devotees in the Lila there. But it is said that makes it a little more complicated. Some of these residents of Dwarka were both. They had a demigod portion and a portion that came from Vaikuntha. Two in one, and that's difficult to understand. For us, that we had the same because we have also Vasudev and Devaki. They are originally Vaikuntha Vasis, but in their previous life they were Sutapa and what's the name? Sutapa? Krishna and Sutapa. So they went already to, the Lord appeared in 3 births for them. There were also Kasyapi and Diti. Anyway, that's interesting. They went to different births and they wanted Krishna as their son. But they said, there is a Vaikuntha portion in them, and also from previous life. That's interesting. But the Dwarka Vasis, they are in Vaikuntha mode. They are. You have the Vaikuntha mood and you have the demigod mood. The Vaikuntha mood is we serve the Lord. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, is Bhagavan, and we serve him in awe and reverence. that Aishwarya Bhav in opulence, in all reference. But the demigods portion, the demigods, they don't see Krishna as Bhagavan. They only know Vishnu. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu at Svetatvip, where they went to pray. And Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the super soul in everyone's heart. So they saw him as the super soul, all-pervading super soul, not as Bhagavan. And therefore, Uddhav, he felt sorry with this residents of Dvarka. He was, the residents of Dvarka was thinking, because sometimes when rainy clouds came over the Vaivarta hill, because these clouds were looking as Krishna's color, when Uddhav saw them, he started to dance in ecstatic madness. And the residents of Dvarka said, this Uddhav is a little mad. But Uddhav felt compassion for these residents of Dvarka. He said, they are like the fish in the water. The fish can, although there is the full moon shine, but the fish cannot understand what the moon is. So these Dvarkavasis, they are living with Krishna, but they cannot understand who he is. They think it's Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, the Vishnu, that the super soul in everyone's heart. So that's the difference with Dvarka and Vrindavan. But in Vrindavan, we have also pure devotees, like the 8 principal queens. All the queens of Krishna were expansion of Lakshmis. But these 8 principal queens in Vrindavan, they are expansions of the Astasakis in Vrindavan. They are the original Lakshmis, these Astasakis, that they are expansions of them. Satyabhama, yeah, that's Radharani. But that's very esoteric, that subject matter. But we will learn from, in the 10th canto, from the mood of the Vrajavasis, and then later the mood of Dvarka. And also, especially Sanatana Goswami, he describes these moods very detailed in his Bhagavad Bhagavatamrita. We have these beautiful books translated by Kopi Paranadhana Prabhu. I met Kopi Paranadhana Prabhu many times, a few times, especially in 2001, I was in Mayapur. I was following Bhakti Shastri at that time. And he was mostly staying at Govardhan, but sometime he was also in Mayapur. And at noontime, we were together in the Brahmachari ashram, taking prasad, always with each other. It was nice. And he was so a humble personality. That's yeah. But very scholarly, good in Sanskrit. It was a pleasure to be with him always. And he wrote this Bhagavad Bhagavatamrita, translated the commentaries of Sanatana Goswami and our acharyas on the Bhagavad Bhagavatamrita. That, yeah, I remember that Niranjan Maharaj told us that I was as much as faith in Gopi Paranadanas purports to the Bprs of Tamrita, as in Srila Prabhupada's purports. That's quite a statement to make. But they are very deep. They are very beautiful. And this Bprs of Tamrita that describes also very deeply this mood of the Vrajavasis. That everything is detailed there. Because of course in Dwarka you have also Balaram and Mother Rohini. Mother Rohini, she is in a very special position because she has experienced the love of the Vrajavasis and she lives in Dwarka. So all these queens, they want to know from Rohini about Krishna. What did he do there with these gopis? That's yes, not it has so a wealth of yeah.
So,
Yes.
and the queens of Dwarka, they do not know about the Bprs. They don't know what is going on in Vrindavan.
Well, they got a lot of information from that. And how did they get the information? Because Krishna was sleeping at night and he was dreaming. In his dream, he was speaking to the gopis, he was always speaking about Vrindavan, about Vrajavasis. So these queens were thinking, what's going on here? It's mentioned that they, at a certain moment, to please Krishna, they built a duplicate of Vrindavan in Dwarka, a certain place, to please Krishna. But
they cannot taste the flavor of the Bprs.
No, in our reference. That's the Lakshmi Narayan mode.
That's a very sublime state of existence.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that special sweetness.
No, that's not there. But it's very elevated. It's transcendental relationship. And the most residents in the spiritual world are in Vaikuntha. And in Vaikuntha, how many planets? That in the Bprs of Tamrita, Gopkumar goes from one planet to another. That goes to the Ram Lila and goes also to Dwarka. And in Dwarka, there is a discussion between Rohini and the queens of Krishna. And that's all mentioned in Bprs of Tamrita. It's so beautiful to hear. So that is, tomorrow we will see another part of these pastimes described in one verse. And then Friday we go to the 10th canton. We enter the questions of Maharaj Pariksit, which will lead to Sukadev Goswami to tell us about the advent of Lord Krishna, this Bhumi going to Brahma and so on, and then suddenly you come into the marriage of Devaki and Vasudeva and Kamsa, who becomes married, and the whole story starts from there. Good. Any questions? Good. Thank you very much.
So that work in Lila, could you describe in the beginning or some part of the thing?
Yeah, first, you have, so in the 10th canton, up to chapter 45, I think, is Vrindavan Lila. From 45 till 80 is Dwarka Lila. Yeah. And of course, Krishna comes in between Balaram visits Vrindavan, Uddhav visits Vrindavan. It's not completely disconnected, but it's mostly Dwarka Lila.
Yeah.
And also many fights with Salva and killing of demons there.
That's the
Yeah. Yeah. And it's go up nearly to the end, because then you have also the story of Sudam Vipra, who visits Dwarka, and the meeting of the Dwarka of the Dwarka Vasis with the Vrindavan Vasis at Kurukshetra, the meeting at the solar eclipse is also there. And then at the end you have the prayers of the Vedas personified. It's chapter 87, which is philosophically deep and a big chapter that not easy to understand. I'm reading the chapter for the moment in French to understand to become better in preaching in French. That's a good chapter to read. And then after that, we have a wonderful Krishna is described, and then the disappearance of Krishna at the end. And that goes into the 11th canto. That's what waits us. So if you all continue with the 10th canto, for the next 2 years, we are in the 10th canto. Hare Krishna. Good.
Very nice.
Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bo. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.